You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You're probably wondering where I acquired this white BMW that's sitting behind me. Well, this is actually my dad's car. It's been blown up for a little over a year now. It's just been sitting in his driveway, so I told him, you know what? Bring it down. I'll get the engine swapped out for you, and then you can actually have a running car. It's been sitting in the driveway, still making payments on the car, and can't use it. So we're gonna get this engine swapped out. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I know with the Audis, it's kind of a pain in the butt. This car looks a little bit better, but we are gonna be pulling the engine throughout the top because I don't have a lift. And I know this is more of a drop the engine out the bottom car, so hopefully we can figure it out. A lot of the guys I see pull the driveline, pull the exhaust, pull the transmission off the back. I'm gonna try my best to do it without doing that, and we'll see how it goes. I'd rather take some more stuff off the front than pull the transmission and all that, but if that's the easiest way to do it and the only way to do it, I guess that's what we're doing. Anyways, this car is a 320i X-Drive. I can't exactly remember the year, but it does have the N20 motor in it, and we have a replacement chilling over here on the stand. So we got to get that engine out, get that engine in, but for now, let's work on getting this engine out. Hopefully it doesn't take all that long. I'll also say this was supposed to be the weekend we build the engine for the Evo, but I completely spaced a vital tool to build that engine, and it's gonna have to wait a little bit longer. So figured, what better time to get this thing yanked out. So first things first, what we want to do is get power to the car, get the trunk open, and disconnect the battery. Now this battery was dead back here, but just to be safe, we can go ahead and disconnect our ground and power, and that way we got no power going to the car whatsoever. Now up front, I just tapped the power into there, which is covered by, you know, your little power cover, and then ground, I didn't know exactly where to tap into, so I just hooked right to the chassis right there. Works just fine. And then this is the new battery that will eventually go in the car. Now moving back to the front, what I want to do is get the front of the car jacked up, and we can start draining coolant. I believe the oil is already drained from this car, but if it's not, we'll have to drain that as well. Just went ahead, pulled the little felt skid plate off the bottom. It's just a bunch of little 8mm screws. You can see them there. Now what I want to do, I believe the oil is already drained from this car. The coolant, there is no drain plug on the radiator, so I'm probably just gonna work from the top, work my way down, and then once we get to like a visible radiator hose, we'll just disconnect that either from the water pump or from the radiator itself, and we'll just rip that off. So let's go ahead, pull this air box off. This is a massive unit here. And then we should be able to see quite a bit underneath this because this covers up a lot of the front of the car. All right, airbox is now out. We got disconnected here, disconnected here. It just slides up and out. There's a little clamp on this one. And now I'm just starting to, you know, pull little harnesses out, pull all these breathers out, and I'm looking way, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show it on camera, way down there, the hose at the bottom, there's a little clamp on it. That goes to your water pump. What I'm doing now is just disconnecting that little clamp. We're gonna slide that hose out, and that should drain all the coolant in our little drain pan all the way at the bottom. So that's what I'm working on now. Once we get that out, I'm gonna work on just kind of cleaning everything off the front here. We're gonna get this pipe out, which is very brittle. I have everything disconnected except for where it goes into the turbo, which it's pretty hidden down in there. It goes in there. So if I show you at the new motor, they actually broke it off on this one. It looks like there's a little nut on the bottom and then the ring clamp around the entire outside of the compressor housing on the turbo. You're gonna have to get a big extension and a ratchet and reach way down in there, get that nut off, and then we should be able to pull the little ring clamp loose and hopefully slide that out without breaking it. Well, that was definitely the expedient way to drain all the coolant, but you really need a kiddie pool to drain the freaking coolant on this thing.
Yeah. Unknown brain. Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right.
So we cleared a lot of space up front. Now you can see clearly where I pulled this coolant line off the water pump. That's the clamp right there, and that is your water pump. So pull that off. That's how I drain the coolant. Now, going on to the turbo. Remember I said that pipe that's really, really fragile and breakable? So all that holds that on is this little 10 millimeter nut goes on the bottom of the compressor housing. Essentially holds this inlet on. You can see where the bolt goes through right there, and all it does is just slide out. So we got that one out, didn't break it at all, so that's good. Now we got a few more things we got to do. We got to pull out this coolant overflow tank. We got to disconnect the harness from the car, and I believe on these BMWs it's actually pretty simple. You can disconnect the harness that goes to the engine, and then pretty much the entire harness stays on the car. You just disconnect one connector somewhere underneath this area here, and you can just lay that connector on the engine, and pretty much everything can stay plugged in for the most part, which is really, really nice. We might disconnect a few of these and leave that in the car, but yeah, the harness part on these BMWs are pretty simple.
Yeah, my life is lovely now, I'm focused on me. You said you were about to die, I guess the car is on E. But see, I ain't even tripping, cause I just chose to believe that somebody gon' come around and give me just what I need. I don't wanna see you flying, see you looking down and out. Coming to me crying, saying you miss having me around. Gave you chances and you blew it, you so easily influenced. All the times you told me beat it, now you gotta face the music, I'm saying
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, and I know that I found somebody else to love me one day, and you'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, no. You did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. So now I gotta say goodbye.
All right, moving forward a little bit. It's been raining, kind of took a little break, but we got the AC compressor off, we got the alternator off, we got the fuel lines in the back disconnected. Pretty much everything, wiring, fuel, just accessories are all disconnected for the most part all the way around. Now we got to get the wheels off. We got to pull the CV axles on both sides because for whatever reason they run through the oil pan or whatever down below, so they have to get pulled off. And then we got to get to the back. We got to take the bell housing bolts off, which are really, really tough because it's super tight back there, as you can see. But we're gonna try to get all those off. We gotta get the torque converter bolts off, the motor mounts, and then that should be it. We should be able to pull this thing up and out. Hopefully, that is the goal. Guys, this rain is just relentless. Anytime I try to get some work done, it just starts pouring outside. So maybe one day we'll finally get this thing out. We are getting close. I got to get the axles pulled. That's what I've been trying to do, but rain ain't giving up on us. So I think I'm gonna head inside, get some stuff done inside, and hopefully it'll dry up out here. Weather is supposed to be pretty crappy this weekend. I was hoping it'd be, you know, at least favorable for us, but yeah, it's freaking soaking wet outside. And you may be wondering why I'm not in the garage. Well, yesterday I played musical cars for about 2 hours because it's just me and pushing these things around because 2 of them run, 2 of them don't run. Makes it a real pain in the butt. We'll be fine. We'll get to this when it dries up. It's like way later out now, but it appears the rain has slowed down finally, so we got to try to get this CV axle off. Typically, you'll have someone go inside, step on the brake, and break that thing loose. If I can't get it with the impact, we might have to wait for Seth to get home because with it just being me, I don't have anyone to hit the brake. Little crowbar trick on the brake pedal, and we were able to get that thing broken loose. So now we should be able to just slide the CV axle off the back. We might have to loosen up the sway bar end link, but other than that, we should be able to pull it out and then just pop it out of the center diff. And just like that, we got one CV axle out. You can see over here, I did drain the center diff earlier so that it wouldn't leak all over when that came out of the center diff. Of course, the rain is really coming down now, so I don't know, I might have to call it a night here, but we are making some solid progress. Just have a few bolts left and that motor will be completely free. But yeah, this rain is really getting annoying. And I think it's just gonna rain the rest of the night. So tomorrow's Sunday, so I got 1 day left before I go back to work. Hopefully the weather cooperates. If not, like I said, we'll get the BMW in here and we'll get her out one way or another. Alrighty, it's the next morning now. I kind of went ahead, made some solid progress this morning. Didn't want to chance anything with the rain. Just want to get this thing out of the car. We got a few little things left. I'm just about to take the torque converter bolts out. I got like 5 or 6 bell housing bolts left, but I think I got the 2 really hard ones out. So super stoked on that. Really cut up my arm pretty bad getting one of them, but it's out. Let me get you guys on the GoPro and I'll show you what's going on under the car. Actually, before I go under there, we'll show you, I pulled out the smaller drive shaft, the one that, you know, goes to your center diff. Got that pulled out. I did mark it. I'm not sure if it has to be marked in, you know, what hole goes where and the direction, but I did mark everything. I also got the other CV axle out. That one is a little bit longer, goes all the way through your center diff, but same technique. Take the bolt out the front, move your sway bar end link over, and then you can just pound it out from the center diff, and it'll slide right out. All right, so underneath, this was where the drive shaft hooks up to go to your center diff, and it links back to the gearbox back there. So we got that out. Now what we got to work on is these bell housing bolts. So we got these 2 easy ones, and then they kind of go up the side. I did get that one out, and pretty much all the ones on this side I already have out. So hopefully these ones won't be too bad. And then last thing we got to do under here, if you look in there, you see that bolt. There's a few of them all the way around the torque converter. Those are the torque converter bolts. I've never actually had to remove them because I always work on manual cars, but this being an automatic, we got to take those out. So all we do is spin the motor over until they all line up with this hole. We remove one at a time. And yeah, once those are out and all the bell housing bolts are out, we'll get the motor mounts and we should be just about ready to pull this thing out finally. All right, jumping quite far ahead. We got everything off the bottom. I'm pretty sure the only thing holding this motor in is the exhaust. I did loosen the V-band, but they kind of get stuck and rusted in place. So I'm hoping once we get the engine on the crane, give it a little tug, it'll break free or at least loosen up so I can take the V-band off. We got the hood propped up with the mop. Yeah, we're pretty much ready, I believe, to pull this thing out. So I got a back panzer up. We'll get the engine crane, which is way up there. And then we just got to find a way to hook onto the top of this engine. But yeah, it did appear that it's already broken free from the transmission once I was taking the torque converter bolts out. So I got the transmission jacked up so it's not going to drop. We should be ready.
Like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
And just like that, boys, we got a BMW N20 motor pulled out of the car from the top, which this is a bottom pull motor, so it's a little bit harder, but we left the transmission in. I didn't have to pull the drive line, the exhaust, the transmission, everything stayed in the car. So it is doable. It might be a pain in the butt to get it back in, but like I did with this, I think if set your mind to it, it's possible. You'll make it. So I did have to pull the motor mount on the driver's side off the engine block completely because it was binding up on like everything and I couldn't get it. But other than that, thing came right off, popped right off the transmission, no issue. The Subaru's normally got a pound to get the input shaft off. With the torque converter, it's nice and easy, it just pops off. So yeah, we're dialed. Yeah. We got a problem.
No.
So I was taking the bell housing bolts out and we got an engine out.
Is that the problem?
That's the problem, you got no engine in your car.
Got no engine in the car?
No engine in the car.
Dumb bitch.
And didn't lose nothing, didn't break nothing, and everything's out.
Nothing.
Huh?
Didn't strip nothing.
Didn't strip nothing. It's been close a few times, but yeah, it's out. It's gonna be tricky getting the engine back on the transmission, but I think we'll be all right. I did like an hour and a half yesterday and probably, what time is it? Probably 4 hours today.
No 5.5 hours it's out.
Yeah. Another thing that was tricky, the stupid transmission wires. Dude, they were on top of the transmission, tight up against the firewall. So I almost had to take the transmission out just to get them lines out. That's how stupid that was. But I think when I put it back in, I'll like lower the engine in and I'll lower the transmission down and I'll feed those wires through and then I'll pick the transmission back up and put it on. Because right now I just have the transmission sitting on a jack stand. What's $3 grand?
I changed the motor in that Subaru.
Yeah. I thought you were paying me $3 grand to do the BMW. As I'm putting the clips together for this video, I realized I never really filmed an outro. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. We got the engine out. Now we're just waiting on a few parts to come in for the new one, and then we should be able to get it slapped in and good to go. I should also mention in this video, because I never really mentioned it before. Sorry, I got some fighter jets up above me, so it might be a little noisy, but I can 100% offer mechanic services for anyone. I can build you guys the Subarus. I can wrench on really any freaking car you want. You just got to get it to me and I can help you out. I'm always looking to expand and learn new things. So if you guys are needing a hand, feel free to hit me up either in the comments here or on Instagram at @bschoenborn, and we'll get you guys dialed in, get your cars on the road, and maybe add some horsepower. So just let me know. But I'm gonna wrap this video up right here. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, peace out. See y'all later.